days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm talking about 49ers versus Packers, and there's still a tremendous amount of fallout coming from the 49ers. A huge defeat against the Seattle Seahawks, and there's no other way to say it. The 49ers just didn't get it done and suffered a very critical loss. And for some, that means they think the 49ers season is over. I think that's understandable to think at 5-5. You know, some people think, hey, you've lost 3 games against the division, and it's time to move on. But there's still games to be played, and we know that the NFL can change on a dime. They can change in the drop of a hat, and things can go your way, or it's going to go drastically the other way. And it could be time here in the next few games. It's going to really determine if the 49ers are going ahead looking towards next year, looking towards the draft, looking towards free agency, and all those things they have to do, or if they're going to stay in the mix and play it out. So the next 3 games are critical. And boy, are these 3 games really hard. It's no foregone conclusion the 49ers can win any of these games. It's going to be tough. They start with Green Bay. Then they've got Buffalo coming off a bye in Buffalo. I mentioned they're traveling to Green Bay as well. That's not easy. Then they get Chicago at home before they welcome the Rams to town on a Thursday night. So it's not easy, and there's a lot of things going on with the 49ers football team that's not just on the field, but also injuries as well. And so we're going to kind of paint the picture of what the 49ers versus Packers is, because I think everyone's starting to agree that if the 49ers suffer any more of these losses, their season's probably over. They are in complete playoff mode. They were in playoff mode in 2021 where they couldn't afford to lose a single game, and I think that's where they're at now. Their playoffs start today. Their playoffs start with practice on Wednesday. They've got to make sure that they go out and win every single game that they play. Do they have the ability? Yes. Have they showed the ability to get it done in games this season? No. There has not been a 60-minute complete performance from the 49ers. Are they capable? Well, we don't know because we haven't seen it this year. We've seen it in the past, but not with this cast of characters. So the 49ers got to prove that they can put it together. And it's really a play here, a play there, a missed assignment here, a missed assignment there that is causing the 49ers to struggle. And a lot of times that's the difference between a really good football team and a bad team, is the teams that can make those plays when they need to, that can get those explosive plays on offense or get that one big stop on defense. And we just haven't been able to get it together. When the 49ers offense and defense plays well, the special teams let them down. When the special teams hangs in there and does a good job, then the offense lets them down. Or both the offense and special teams are able to hang in there and the defense lets them down. They just can't get the complementary football together. And that's why they're a 5-5 football team. And yes, it does appear daunting that they're going to have any opportunity at making the playoffs. But there's also a competitor in each one of these guys. And they don't want to give up. And I know Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to give up either. They want to play till the end because you just don't know what Arizona is going to do down the stretch. Now, from what they've showed on film and how they've played this year, it appears that they're going to have a really good opportunity to win the division. But you don't know that for sure. You still play the game and you see what happens. There's always the opportunity that Arizona stumbles and falls, and then you have a shot. But you've got a long hill to climb if you're the San Francisco 49ers. Can they climb it? That's what we're going to find out. But we're going to break down this game versus the 49ers versus Packers, let you know who's playing, who's not, and kind of just go through setting up this game. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. The largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball to NHL, UFC, and MMA. Head to Bet Online today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. So the first thing you always have to look at, and of course I do my film breakdowns over on Patreon, so the guys, people that are over on Patreon can see what I'm talking about. First thing you have to see is, are there correctable issues that you can fix and then go into the next game and do better and win? And the truth is yes, but we haven't seen the 49ers be able to correct the issues consistently. It feels like they correct one issue and another one pops up. So it's not a foregone conclusion that it's like, hey, here's the coaching points. We're going to get better at these and we're going to get it done, because it relies on players being able to execute. So it's not as simple as the 49ers are just going to fix this stuff, go beat the Packers. Packers are going to be a very tough matchup for the 49ers. They always are, especially because of the familiarity between the two head coaches. Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur understand what each other wants to do on defense, which means, on offense, which means they have a pretty good understanding of what their defensive coordinators need to do to each other. So right there, it gives a basis for this conversation. You throw in the fact that Robert Saleh is now a consultant with the Green Bay Packers, and you have a avenue for them to try to stop Kyle Shanahan. Now, Shanahan has had really good success against LaFleur so far, but LaFleur has got him before in the regular season, a big win in Santa Clara on Monday night. But when it comes to playoff time, Shanahan has been the one that's got the upper hand. Well, what did I say this game has got to be? It's got to be a playoff time. Kyle Shanahan has to coach this like it's playoffs. The 49ers have to play this like it's playoffs. They can't allow the Green Bay Packers, who are sitting in a much more comfortable position, to pull away even more or to win this game. 49ers, this is a must-win football game for them. So we know who LaFleur is and what that offense is, and it's been really good. They have a very effective running game with Josh Jacobs leading the charge on the ground, and they average close to 150 yards per game, 149 yards per game on the ground. Very effective run game. And when you look at the 49ers defense, they're allowing just over 100 yards per game. That's not a great matchup for the 49ers. This is one of those games they can't allow to be close down the stretch. You get into the fourth quarter and Josh Jacobs is still able to carry the football consistently, they are going to go off on the 49ers and rush for well over 100 yards. It's just the way it is. The 49ers defense holds up well against the run. They did a good job against Seattle again last week against certain teams, but there has been teams that have absolutely picked them apart. And I worry that the running game for Green Bay might have some success the way it did last year in the playoffs. You're still missing Dre Greenlaw. You don't have him to help in the running game. And you're missing a lot of interior defensive line help that you had over the years. Eric Armstead, for instance, was a big run stopper. You don't have that. Now, Malik Collins does a good job, and Jordan Elliott has his moments where he flashes and makes plays, but consistency behind is not good. We've seen teams be able to use one-on-one blocking to get 49ers defensive tackles moving and create space. You don't want to give Josh Jacobs too much space, because not only does he have great vision, great strength, but he will absolutely drag you for an extra 3 or 4 yards if you don't hit him right. So the 49ers are going to have all hands on deck to stop the run. And one way the 49ers defense has had success this season stopping the passing game is they've been able to play a lot of too high safety looks. They go too high, they're able to stop the run with a light box, and they hang in there. The problem is, in this game, if you don't bring an eighth guy into the box, you might not be able to slow the Green Bay Packers running game, which means if you do bring that eighth guy in, you're going to create some really good opportunities for Green Bay's wide receivers and Jordan Love to make plays at the second level. So this game is going to be very tough for the 49ers defense. This is going to test them extremely. And they did a good job. They only allowed 20 points last week, and I know the last drive was very frustrating, and the 49ers gave up a huge touchdown, and you never want to allow that to happen. But when you look at what the 49ers were doing before that, they gave this offense and this 49ers football team an opportunity to win, and they weren't able to seize the deal and finish the deal. The truth is, the 49ers that defense should have never faced a last-second drive. They had this game done. It was over. The 49ers offense needed to finish it off, and they were unable to do so. They couldn't execute when the time came right. And you got to be able to run a 4-minute offense. You get the ball back with under 4 minutes, you need to end up running out all that clock or ending in the end zone for a touchdown. You got to make sure you do it. So 49ers defense has definitely been put in some tough spots, and they're going to be put in another tough spot in this game because Jordan Love is absolutely a playmaker. Now, he hasn't had as good a season this year as he's had in the past, and we've seen him deal with a lot of injuries, whether that was a leg injury or a groin injury. So we'll see how Jordan Love plays. He didn't have a great game last week against Chicago, but when the moment came, he made plays. And Jordan Love has a lot of weapons around him. You talk about that wide receiver core of Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, and Christian Watson. And that's not all. They also got Dontavia Wicks and Bo Melton. So athleticism, extremely important for this Green Bay Packers offense, and they've got a lot of talent. Now, they don't have a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the ball. It's a far cry from what the 49ers are dealing with right now, but they do have a couple. Starting tight end Luke Musgrave, he is out. He's on the IR, so he will not be playing in this game. But they drafted a lot of guys at tight end a couple years ago, so they still have Tucker Kraft and Ben Sims that can play as well. So lots of talent at tight end, lots of young talent. But Luke Musgrave is a big loss for them. That was someone that Jordan Love could count on. So we'll see more Tucker Kraft in this game. And then they did lose their rookie offensive guard, Jordan Morgan. He went on the IR, and we know 49ers fans were definitely interested in the tackle prospect from Arizona, and they've been playing him at guard, and he's out. He's on IR right now. So that means Sean Ryan goes in, and Sean Ryan has been a really good player out of UCLA for many years. So I don't think they drop off a whole lot. I don't think that's a very significant loss, where the 49ers are dealing with way more significant losses. If you look at the defensive side of the ball, where Nick Bosa may not play in this football game, which is it's very scary. But right now, this is what kind of Kyle Shanahan said. He said, we'll evaluate him throughout this week. So Kyle basically said, hey, this is 50-50. He said, we'll see how it goes this week. Just as good of a chance for him not to play as play. But unless it's an injury that you know has him knocked out, you can't rule him out early. When it's not that case, you don't decide those things on Monday. So basically saying, hey, this is a wait and see approach. We'll see what happens when we get later on in this week and how Bosa is looking. So it's not an out. It's not an in. This is going to be something we have to monitor all week. We're probably not going to know more until later in the week because I don't expect him to practice tomorrow. Normally, these guys, especially with injuries, will sit out on Wednesday. I think the first time we may see Bosa, and this is the time that decisions will start to be made, is potentially on Friday. I think they'll drag this thing out. Even if they know he's not going to play, they still won't say anything until Friday when they have to release the injury report, and that's when we'll find out. If he's questionable, he has a chance to go. If he's doubtful, he will be out, or they could just classify him out. But I think it could be bad for the 49ers with Nick Bosa out. We saw the pass rush still was able to get home with Leonard Floyd. I thought Leonard Floyd had his best game of the season last week against Seattle. But you could definitely tell there's a big hole missing when Nick Bosa's not out there. The effect was huge, and Bosa's been a tremendous player this year. Now, the good news for the 49ers when it comes to the injury front or guys missing is Charvarius Ward is back. And so Charvarius Ward was actually at the game for Seattle. He was watching, so he returned to the team before that, and he's in the facility, and he will be practicing tomorrow. So where you may be losing a defensive end, you could be getting help on the back end, and I think that's really huge for the 49ers. They'll finally be full strength at cornerback, Charvarius Ward, Deommodore Lenoir, and Bernardo Green. So 49ers getting back a key cog and an all-pro caliber player in Charvarius Ward, and they're going to need him against those wide receivers. Green Bay wide receivers are no joke, and the 49ers are going to have to go out there and match them, and that's going to be tough for them. But that's a huge pickup for the 49ers, getting Charvarius Ward back. Kyle Shanahan said he was in the meeting on Monday, and he was at the game on Sunday. And so he's been doing workouts with Dustin Perry, their strength and conditioning coach, and they'll see how it goes this week with him. But I expect for Charvarius Ward to be able to practice. Now, one more note that Kyle Shanahan said this week is about Dre Greenlaw, who's coming back from the torn Achilles during the Super Bowl. He did say that Dre Greenlaw's practice window will not be open this week. I think everyone kind of has been feeling that it was probably going to be after the Packers game. And so it'd be Packers after the Packers game, then you got the Buffalo game, and then you got Chicago. So the next few weeks, possibly. Kyle said he is doing mock practices on his own without players, and hope he'll get him back in practice next week. So there's a chance for Dre Greenlaw to get back on the field as early as Buffalo. I think Chicago or the Rams is probably the most likely scenario for him. So 49ers not suffering too many injuries on defense, even though linebacker Tatum Bethune sprained his MCL, and he's a likely IR candidate, probably ending his football season. especially with the 49ers needing to make a decision on offensive guard John Feliciano. So we've got a situation where the 49ers could be without Nick Bosa, um, which could be huge for this football team because not only is he a great run stopper, but he's somebody you have to fear when it comes to rushing the passer. 49ers are going to have to get more production out of Etor Gross-Matos, out of Leonard Floyd, who both had good games last week. Sam Okuwanu as well. So we're going to need more from them, and we're going to have to see what happens with the interior. Malik Collins has been an absolute stud this year. I mean, of all the guys, especially the guys they picked up in the offseason, I think Malik Collins has been one of the ones that's the most exciting as far as somebody that they traded for or signed as a free agent. He has done just a phenomenal job. So I've been really excited about him. Now let's look at the Green Bay Packers defense a little bit before we go, back into some of the offense and stuff like that, because I want to talk about Jeff Hafley, the new defensive coordinator. So last year they had Joe Barry, and it really didn't work out. Devondre Campbell, who's now with the 49ers, talked about the fact that really Joe Barry was putting him and the other linebackers in tough situations, and Matt LaFleur had to take over. So Matt LaFleur basically took over the defense down the stretch to help Green Bay get in the playoffs, and he was helping when they went against the 49ers, and they had a good plan against the 49ers. So this year he brings in Jeff Hafley, comes over from Boston College, where he had a pretty good, successful run there. He was there for 4 years, and they were in bowl eligibility 3 of the 4 years. He also helped that defense get up there to a number 3 ranking when it came to passing defense, only allowing 173.5 yards in 2021 and a total top 30 ranking in defense at number 28 at 344.2. He's also usually really good in the red zone and very good on third down, where his defenses usually allow 34.5% conversion rate. Now, that has translated to the NFL, the third downs. The Green Bay Packers defense is one of the best when it comes to third down rate. They allow conversions at 36.6% on third down, which is really, really good. So you see a success for Jeff Hafley. It's also a change from the more 3-4 defense of Joe Barry to a 4-3 defense with under Jeff Hafley. So he's done a really good job with that. They also create turnovers at a high level. Creating turnovers, third best in the league at 19 this season. That is really, really good. So you see Jeff Hafley's having some success there. Now, when we look at their defense overall, it's another team that's been, the side of the ball that's been doing pretty good with injuries. Green Bay, not, really hurting when it comes to injuries too much. The one question mark is cornerback Jair Alexander. And we've seen him be a question mark against the 49ers before, but when he plays, dude is lights out on the outside. So that's going to be one to watch for them, is if Jair Alexander is going to be playing in this game. He is going to be questionable. So we'll see. But when you're talking about their studs, up front, they got Kenny Clark, absolute beast at defensive tackle, Rashawn Gary at defensive end. And Rashawn Gary's been a little bit of a problem for the 49ers over the last couple of years when they've matched up. The size and strength combination with just enough speed has been a problem for guys like Colton McKivitz. I think that when he's playing inside, it will be good for the 49ers with Dominic Pooney and Banks. They should be able to hold up against him. I do not like him on Colton McKivitz very much. I think that's a tough matchup for the 49ers. I think he will overpower Colton McKivitz. So that's going to be something to watch with Rashawn Gary. And with Kenny Clark, he's one of the best. So 49ers have dealt with Chris Jones. They've dealt with some of the better interior defensive tackles like Vita Vea, or this last week, Leonard Williams, who was a real problem for the 49ers. And it doesn't get any easier with Kenny Clark. He's a very solid run stopper, and he's got a lot of ability. So the interior part of the offensive line is going to be needing to step up. And maybe they'll get an addition of John Feliciano. I don't think that means he's stepping into the starter role. I think there could be a real conversation again about if John Feliciano is an upgrade over Jake Brendel at center. I thought that Jake Brendel played, a tough game. I don't think it was a very great game from him. Some mistakes in the run game for sure. And so I think that there are some opportunities for maybe John Feliciano to get on the field. I don't know if they'll pull the trigger on that, but you're running out of time to pull the trigger if you're going to. But I do expect John Feliciano to be activated from the IR. Then when it comes to linebacker, they got some good ones. They got Quay Walker, who's been there for a while, and Isaiah McDuffie, who flies around. So they're going to be, the competition for the 49ers, and we'll see what happens there. So other than that, they're doing pretty good when it comes to health-wise. And for the 49ers, the question marks have been normally, on guys like Brock Purdy. But how about this? Or I'm sorry, on George Kittle. But how about this? Brock Purdy is dealing with right shoulder soreness. So he took a hit in the game on Sunday, probably from his scrambling. I don't think he did a good job getting down in the game. I thought he took some unnecessary hits, but I also thought he ran unnecessarily sometimes. There were opportunities for him to deliver the football, not just to check downs, but to really drive some footballs that would have been first downs on some corner routes, and he did not throw the football. Maybe the shoulder was sore at that point. I don't know. But this is something that was concerning for me, that he was willing to take contact. But Kyle Shanahan didn't seem overly concerned during the presser yesterday and said Brock Purdy is day to day as they're preparing for Green Bay. So that's at least a little bit nerve wracking. Brock Purdy dealing with a shoulder injury. You never want that to happen. And so we'll see what happens with Brock during the week. I kind of expect him to be out there practicing and getting some work in. But the 49ers know they need Brock Purdy on the field, and he's got to be going back to that Brock Purdy that's willing to just, trigger and throw the football. And that'll be a big part. Now, it could help him a lot if he gets George Kittle back. And Kyle Shanahan said that it was very close for George Kittle to play in the game on Sunday. So he was close enough that it was almost there. But Kittle not able to go on Sunday, which was a huge loss for the 49ers against Seattle. And so Kyle said, I know it was close yesterday, so I think he should be a good for practice on Wednesday. So that's great news for the 49ers. George Kittle looks like he's going to play against Green Bay. And, of course, things can change during the week, but expect Kittle to be out there at practice on Wednesday and hopefully trending towards playing, and they need him. He's big in the run game, but he's also the 49ers' biggest red zone threat. Now, the 49ers' red zone offense was actually not the problem against the Seahawks. They went 2 of 3, which is, very phenomenal. So you love to go 100%, but still that rate is one of the top in the league if you can convert on in the red zone at that level. And so George Kittle being back is going to be huge because even though the Green Bay has been pretty good on defense at times, their red zone defense is not good. They allow touchdowns at 58%. So right there with the 49ers. 49ers have been right around 60%, and now Green Bay at 58%. So there's going to be opportunities for the 49ers to score some touchdowns, and having George Kittle back could be huge for the 49ers football team. Now, one of the things that's going to be interesting to watch, though, is Trent Williams battled through that game on Sunday with the ankle injury, and he was able to tough it out. And Kyle said, just talking to him, the Teradol is wearing off and things like that. So, of course, he got a shot to help him feel a little bit better, and so it's very painful. So he said, we'll see what happens when it comes to Wednesday. We know that Trent Williams will not practice on Wednesday. That will not be an indicator on whether he's going to play against the Green Bay Packers or not, because he always takes Wednesdays off. I think that he probably won't practice Thursday. Last week he didn't practice at all, so that could still be a trend. More than likely, Trent Williams is going to be another game time decision for the 49ers. If they don't have Trent Williams, Rashawn Gary will line up over Jalen Moore, and I think the 49ers will have a little bit of an issue there. That could be a big loss. So this is going to be one that could be him, and Trent Williams and Nick Bosa could be the biggest losses if they don't have him. And Kyle said, but I know he battled to play in that game, and I appreciate him going through it and out there, and we'll see how he recovers here going into Wednesday. So we know they'll be giving him, the opportunity to get better, and so it's going to be interesting to see how well he gets during the week. He'll be getting treatment all week, and hopefully Trent Williams will be able to go out there because this is a big football game. The next two are really huge, but he knows, hey, they lose this game, it might be all she wrote for the season. That's what we're looking at. And one more note when it comes to offense is Jacob Cowing left the game with a concussion, and so he's in concussion protocol, and so we'll see what happens. We don't know for sure if Cowing's going to play, but likely when it's a 7-day thing, there's a chance that he could miss this game. Usually, Thursday Night Football, he for sure would have been out. Sunday, there's always a chance. We'll see what happens. But if that doesn't happen, expect Ronnie Bell to either be handling the return duties or Ricky Pearsall. And so that would be a change on special teams that could be pretty huge for the 49ers in this football game against Green Bay is the fact that Jacob Cowing might not be handling the red zone. I'm sorry, the punt returns for the 49ers. So let's talk a little bit about the Green Bay Packers offense. There's a couple of things I wanted to point out. I did bring up how good they were in the rushing attack, averaging 149 yards per game, but they are actually not very good on third down. So they only convert at a 36% rate. So you got their defense giving up first downs at 36% and their offense only getting conversions on 36%. That's not very good. The 49ers, just so you know, 49ers are one of the top in the league on offense about converting on third down at over 45%. And so the defense for the 49ers hasn't been good this year on third down for the most part at 43%. But you see an opportunity for the 49ers to potentially get off the field, and that is going to be huge. Also, Green Bay has not been good in the red zone. We talked about the 49ers being bad in the red zone, scoring touchdowns. Green Bay's actually just below the 49ers. Both of them not very good at scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Now, 49ers are trending the right direction on third down and in the red zone. It's gotten better over the last couple of weeks, and we've seen their numbers jump. But for Green Bay, that has been a real problem, not being able to score those touchdowns when they need to. So you see some opportunities for the 49ers in this football game to win, but you also see some opportunities for Green Bay to have some good chances to move the football against the 49ers. I think going into this week, one of the key matchups is going to be that Green Bay Packers running game against the San Francisco 49ers run defense. Can Nick Sorensen sit back with a two-eye safety look and stop Green Bay's run game? I don't think he can. I think he's going to have to be aggressive, bring Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa in the box. I think they're going to have to be aggressive in how they try to stop Green Bay's running game. And then when it comes to that, then you're somewhat putting yourself on an island with those cornerbacks. Now, Charvarius Ward coming back into the mix could help extremely because now you could put Charvarius Ward on the outside with, Diamond Lenore and base sets. But when you go nickel, Renardo Green out there as well. So they can match up physically. They can handle the speed of the Green Bay Packers receivers. And you just can't allow yourself to struggle. Now, this game is on the road, so I don't know exactly what Lambeau's field conditions are going to look like. What I do know is last year in the playoffs, part of the reason Green Bay had so much success in the passing game was 49ers cornerbacks kept falling down and safeties kept falling down, creating huge opportunities for Green Bay that normally wouldn't have been there. So I'm hoping that the 49ers can keep their feet in the secondary this week and still be able to generate pressure on Jordan Love. He is a mobile guy. He can still move. He doesn't move as good as he did last year because he's dealt with the injuries, especially the groin. You can tell he doesn't move as good. So there's going to be opportunities to get after him. So there's going to be a lot of things for the 49ers to monitor this week. The health of Trent Williams and George Kittle on offense are going to be pivotal to the 49ers' success. If they both play, huge help for the 49ers. They need that for sure. The 49ers offense needs to go out there and score points in this game. 17 points will not get it done against the Green Bay Packers. It needs to be 24 points or more. Both of these offenses average 25 points per game. So just give you an idea of where the 49ers and Green Bay Packers sit as far as scoring points. Both of them at 25 points per game, which is top 10 in the NFL. So they still do a pretty good job when it comes to scoring points. When you look at the defense, the 49ers, Nick Bosa is going to be pivotal. And I think Charvarius Ward is as well. If Charvarius Ward ends up playing, which I sort of expect he will, that's a huge advantage for the 49ers. That helps them. Three really good cornerbacks. I don't think that anyone feels bad for Green Bay that you're going to have these matchups of wide receiver versus cornerback. It's going to be fun to watch. But it's going to be also about Nick Bosa. Because even if Nick Bosa is not 100%, even if he's 75%, the thought of Nick Bosa being out there and coming after the quarterback is enough to change the way that an offense handles you. So they will slide protect his way. They will give an extra blocker his way, and that will help you free up one-on-one situations for Yetur Gross-Matos and Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins. But if he's not there, then it changes the way they play against the 49ers. Now, I think in past situations, then you will get, if there's no Bosa, a Sam Okawanu with the Yetur Gross-Matos and with Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins. So that will be your four-man pass rush. It's still formidable, but Leonard Floyd has to play like he did last week. Leonard Floyd was a monster last week. 1.5 sacks, nearly got another one flying over the offensive player as he bullied him And that was Cross. He bullied and got right into Geno's face. It was a phenomenal play. So we've seen good play from 49ers defensive line. They're going to have to step up. But the 49ers definitely got some things they've got to overcome. But this is going to be a fun one on Sunday. It's a rivalry, 49ers versus Packers. We've seen the 49ers knock them out of the playoffs last year, and there was some conversation about Green Bay acting like they let the 49ers get away with them. I think they're going to be motivated. They can put the 49ers in a world of hurt where the 49ers don't even have a shot to make the playoffs. And for the 49ers, they can get a big win and keep their hopes alive. And so this is going to be a huge game at Lambeau Field. It always makes for a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, for joining. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet, you bet with Bet Online. And this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. So thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.